What if I told you indigenous tribes have been quietly cultivating superfruits for millennia, while the rest of us struggle with store-bought varieties? These ancient gardeners perfected fruits with 5x the nutrition of what's in your grocery store. Their most powerful discovery might make you question everything you thought you knew about fruit. Deep in the heart of the Amazon rainforest, indigenous tribes have been harvesting a small purple berry that would remain their secret for centuries before exploding onto the global stage. Acai berries might look unassuming, similar to blueberries but with a deeper purple hue. Yet these tiny fruits pack a nutritional punch that makes our grocery store berries look like empty calories in comparison. What makes acai so extraordinary? Scientific analysis shows these berries contain up to 10 times more antioxidants than typical store-bought varieties. The tribal secret isn't just what they grow, but how they harvest it. While commercial operations prioritize speed and shelf life, Amazonian tribes carefully hand-select berries at precise ripeness, often climbing palm trees reaching over 80 feet tall without modern equipment. Have you ever wondered why store-bought acai never tastes quite like what you'd experience in Brazil? Traditional harvest timing follows lunar cycles, with berries picked during the waning moon, when antioxidant concentrations reach their peak. This ancient knowledge, passed down through generations, creates a nutritional profile that commercial growers struggle to replicate. The indigenous relationship with acai goes beyond mere consumption. These communities use every part of the acai palm, demonstrating a respect for resources that modern agriculture rarely achieves. The berries provide potent nutrition. Palm hearts offer another food source, while the durable leaves become thatching for shelters that can withstand tropical downpours for years. Traditional preparation methods seem counterintuitive to Western nutritionists. Fermenting the berries briefly before mixing with cassava root creates compounds not present in fresh berries alone. Tribal healers have long prescribed this mixture for sustained energy and immune support during hunting expeditions that might last days. The purple fingertips of harvesters tell another story. The intense pigmentation that stains skin also explains why these berries have become legendary in tribal medicine for vision enhancement and cellular protection. Laboratory tests confirm what indigenous healers have known for generations. These compounds protect DNA from oxidative damage in ways commercial antioxidants cannot match. While acai might be the most famous Amazonian treasure, the extraordinary dragon fruit, cultivated by indigenous tribes in arid regions, puts most commercial varieties to shame. The fiery landscapes of the Sonoran Desert might seem hostile to fruit cultivation, yet indigenous tribes have transformed these arid conditions into an advantage. Dragon fruit cacti thrive where other plants perish, but the varieties cultivated by native desert tribes bear little resemblance to the bland, white-fleshed versions found in supermarkets. Their secret? Centuries of selective breeding focused on nutrition rather than appearance or shipping durability. Laboratory analysis reveals these traditional dragon fruit varieties contain twice the nutritional density of commercial types. The most striking difference appears in vitamin C content. Tribal varieties provide up to 150% more than store-bought fruit, making them crucial for desert dwellers with limited access to citrus. Have you ever noticed how commercial dragon fruit often lacks flavor despite its exotic appearance? This disappointment disappears with tribal varieties, which develop intense sweetness without added sugar. The vibrant interior colors tell part of the story. Instead of white flesh with bare black seeds, traditional varieties reveal deep crimson or purple interiors teeming with beneficial compounds. These pigments signal the presence of betalains and lycopene, powerful antioxidants rarely found together in a single fruit. Desert tribes developed cultivation methods that seem counterintuitive but prove remarkably effective. Rather than clearing rocks from growing areas, they strategically position stones around young plants to create microenvironments that protect from harsh sun, while releasing minerals during infrequent rains. Commercial growers focusing on efficiency remove these rocks, unwittingly eliminating a key element in the fruit's development. Perhaps most fascinating is their night watering technique. Water is applied only after sunset, when cacti open their pores, allowing maximum absorption with minimal evaporation. This practice not only conserves precious water, but significantly intensifies flavor development in the fruit. Tribal elders can identify precisely when fruit has reached peak nutrition by subtle color changes invisible to untrained eyes. Even more remarkable is the night pollination ritual. Because dragon fruit flowers bloom for just one night, tribal members carefully hand-pollinate blossoms under moonlight, ensuring genetic diversity while selecting traits from the strongest plants. The resulting fruits serve both as food and medicine, with specific preparations addressing digestive ailments and reducing inflammatory conditions that plague desert dwellers. The desert might seem like an unlikely place for sweet fruit, but even more surprising is how Pacific Island tribes transformed a bland tree fruit into one of the world's most versatile superfoods. In the scorching Sonoran Desert, indigenous tribes cultivate a dragon fruit that puts commercial varieties to shame. While the rest of us struggle with bland, white-fleshed varieties from supermarkets, these desert communities have perfected drought-resistant types with double the nutritional density. Their fruits aren't just surviving in harsh conditions, they're thriving, developing complex flavor profiles that make store-bought dragon fruit taste like watery disappointment. What makes these tribal varieties so extraordinary? For starters, they contain up to 150% more vitamin C than commercial types. The vibrant red or deep purple flesh, not the typical white, signals higher levels of betalins, powerful antioxidants that commercial breeding has inadvertently diminished while focusing on shelf life and appearance. The cultivation methods would make modern agriculturists rethink everything they know about desert growing. Rather than clearing rocks away, tribal growers strategically place stones around young plants to create microenvironments that trap morning dew and gradually release essential minerals into the soil. These rocky amendments, ignored by commercial operations seeking efficiency, create the precise conditions dragon fruit needs to develop maximum sweetness and nutrient density. Have you ever wondered why some fruits taste better depending on when they're watered? Desert tribes discovered centuries ago that night watering dramatically enhances flavor development. They apply water only after sunset when the cactus opens its pores, maximizing absorption while minimizing evaporation, a technique that conserves precious water while intensifying natural sugars. Perhaps most fascinating is their night pollination practice. Dragon fruit flowers bloom for just one night, so tribal members hand-pollinate under moonlight, carefully selecting pollen from plants with specific characteristics. This meticulous approach ensures genetic diversity while maintaining the traits they've selectively bred for generations. The resulting fruits serve as both food and medicine, with tribal healers creating specific preparations for digestive ailments that common in desert communities. The high mucilage content soothes inflamed digestive systems, while the fiber content supports beneficial gut bacteria, benefits rarely discussed in fashionable superfood marketing. The desert might seem like an unlikely place for sweet fruit, but even more surprising is how Pacific Island tribes transformed a bland tree fruit into one of the world's most versatile superfoods. Across the vast Pacific Ocean, Polynesian islanders developed a relationship with a remarkable tree fruit that would become the foundation of entire civilizations. When Polynesian voyagers set sail across thousands of miles of open ocean in their outrigger canoes, precious breadfruit saplings traveled with them, carefully protected in woven containers with coconut husk and fresh water. These weren't just plants, they were the future food security of generations yet unborn. What makes breadfruit so extraordinary? It warranted such care during dangerous ocean journeys. Unlike virtually any other fruit, breadfruit contains a complete protein profile with all 9 essential amino acids, making it more nutritionally similar to meat than fruit. A single mature breadfruit tree produces 200 to 500 fruits annually, enough to provide the carbohydrate base for a family of 4 for an entire year, requiring almost no care beyond occasional harvesting. Have you ever wondered how island communities survive between growing seasons or during droughts? Traditional fermentation methods allowed breadfruit to be preserved for years without refrigeration. Islanders would bury peeled and seeded breadfruit in leaf-lined pits, allowing controlled fermentation that not only preserved the fruit, but enhanced certain nutrients and created new compounds not present in fresh breadfruit. This fermented paste, called masi in Fiji and ma in Samoa, could sustain communities through hurricanes, droughts, and warfare. While modern agriculture focuses on a handful of commercial varieties, indigenous Pacific communities have preserved over 200 distinct breadfruit varieties, each with specific characteristics suited to different growing conditions and culinary purposes. Some varieties were specifically cultivated for drought resistance, others for salt tolerance near coastlines, creating a genetic library that modern food security experts now recognize as invaluable. The sacred nature of breadfruit in Polynesian culture reflects its importance. Specific harvesting ceremonies honor the tree's generosity, with first fruits often given as offerings before general consumption begins. Traditional knowledge dictates precise cooking techniques for different varieties, some steamed in earth ovens, others fermented, some dried and ground into flour. Each method unlocking different nutritional profiles from the same fruit. Remarkably, a single breadfruit tree can feed generations, producing abundantly for 50+ years with minimal care. When Captain Bligh's famous mission to transport breadfruit to the Caribbean ended in mutiny, it wasn't just a botanical expedition, it was an attempt to harness a food system that had sustained Pacific Islanders for millennia. While breadfruit sustained entire island civilizations, mountain tribes halfway across the world were perfecting a tiny berry that would put modern multivitamins to shame. Those tiny orange berries dotting the rugged Himalayan mountainsides might look unremarkable, but they represent one of nature's most complete nutritional packages. Himalayan mountain tribes have cultivated sea buckthorn for thousands of years, developing varieties that contain something almost impossible to find in the plant kingdom. All 4 omega fatty acids, 3, 6, 7, and 9, in a single food source. While nutritional supplements attempt to combine these compounds artificially, indigenous highlanders simply harvest these complete berries from plants thriving at elevations where most crops fail. What makes tribal sea buckthorn so superior to commercial varieties? The secret lies in precise harvesting methods that vary by altitude. Himalayan communities harvest berries from higher elevations later in the season, allowing them to develop up to 30% higher vitamin C content than lower altitude plants. Did you know that a single cup of these berries contains 12 times the vitamin C of an orange? Tribal elders can identify the perfect harvest moment by subtle colour changes invisible to untrained eyes. Waiting just 3 extra days can dramatically increase nutrient density. Traditional processing techniques preserve an astounding 190+ bioactive compounds found in these berries. Unlike mechanical extraction that generates heat and destroys sensitive nutrients, tribal methods involve freezing berries before gentle hand processing, maintaining delicate compounds that commercial processing destroys. This careful approach explains why traditional sea buckthorn preparations remain active for years, while commercial products lose potency within months. Himalayan tribal medicine distinguishes uses for different parts of the plant with remarkable precision. The leaves, rich in quercetin and kaempferol, become teas for respiratory conditions. The berry pulp, loaded with carotenoids, treats skin conditions. The seeds, concentrated with rare fatty acids, address cardiovascular concerns. Modern pharmaceutical research is only beginning to validate what these mountain communities have known for centuries. Perhaps most fascinating is their companion planting approach. Sea buckthorn thrives alongside nitrogen-fixing plants like native legumes, creating symbiotic relationships that enhance both plants' nutrient profiles. This intercropping method, dismissed by commercial growers seeking efficiency, creates berries with measurably higher medicinal compound concentrations. The plants form the backbone of mountain communities' food security, thriving in harsh conditions where temperatures can swing 40 degrees in a single day, requiring no irrigation or fertilizers, yet providing complete nutrition when little else grows. High in the mountains, these orange berries might seem humble, but deep in the rainforests of Southeast Asia, tribal fruit hunters risk their lives for something even more extraordinary. Deep in the rainforests of Borneo, indigenous Dayak fruit hunters scale towering trees to harvest what they call the king of fruits. While most Westerners know durian only for its notorious smell, few realize that tribal communities have cultivated special varieties virtually unknown outside their forests, including some that are surprisingly odorless. These aren't the commercial durians exported to global markets. They're carefully guarded tribal treasures containing unique compounds absent in their commercial cousins. What makes these indigenous durian varieties so extraordinary? Laboratory analysis reveals they contain tryptophan, serotonin precursors, and unique polyphenols not found in commercial varieties. These compounds explain why tribal healers prescribe specific durians for different health conditions, a practice once dismissed as superstition, but increasingly validated by modern research. Did you know these special durians contain more protein than almost any other fruit? With 2-3 times the protein content of bananas, they've served as a crucial protein source for forest communities for centuries. The Dayak tribes determine perfect ripeness through methods that seem almost mystical to outsiders. Rather than simply waiting for durians to fall naturally, the commercial approach, tribal harvesters identify the precise moment of ripeness through subtle stem color changes, and by tapping the fruit to hear specific resonant tones. Harvesting just 3 days earlier or later dramatically alters the fruit's nutritional profile. Perhaps most surprising is the indigenous cultivation system. Rather than clearing forests to create durian orchards, tribal communities preserve strategic patches of forest specifically to maintain habitat for fruit bats, the primary pollinators of durian. This approach creates a complete ecosystem where bats pollinate wild and cultivated trees, maintaining genetic diversity that produces more resilient fruits with complex nutrient profiles. Have you wondered why durian is seasonal in markets but seems available in tribal areas year-round? Specific indigenous varieties flower and fruit at different times based on subtle environmental cues, creating a continuous harvest cycle. Some tribal communities can harvest durian in 9 different months of the year from different varieties, each with distinct nutritional characteristics. The infamous smell? Ancient preparation techniques involving specific clay vessels and fermentation methods neutralize the aroma while actually enhancing nutrient bioavailability, transforming what many consider inedible into a complete food source that sustained forest communities for generations. While durian divides opinions with its powerful aroma, another tribal fruit from the Amazon quietly delivers medicinal benefits that modern scientists are just beginning to understand. The unassuming small berries growing along the floodplains of the Peruvian Amazon might be mistaken for wild cherries by untrained eyes, but their nutritional profile defies belief. Camu berries, harvested by indigenous Amazonian tribes for centuries, contain an astounding 60 times more vitamin C than oranges, making them the highest natural source of this essential nutrient on the planet. A single ounce provides more vitamin C than 20 oranges, yet these potent berries remain largely unknown outside their native habitat. What makes these berries so extraordinary? Unlike commercial fruits bred for size and sugar content, Camu evolved in mineral-rich floodplains that created perfect conditions for developing extreme nutrient density. Indigenous tribes recognized these properties generations ago, using the berries specifically for vision protection during nighttime hunting and for preventing respiratory illnesses during rainy seasons. The harvesting process tells a story of intimate ecological knowledge. Tribal gatherers travel in handmade canoes during specific river conditions when water levels are receding but not completely withdrawn. This precise timing, measured by natural indicators rather than calendars, ensures berries are collected at peak nutritional value while preserving enough for wildlife and future propagation. Did you know that gathering too early or too late can reduce vitamin content by up to 40%? Tribal elders identify perfect ripeness through subtle visual cues invisible to outsiders. A specific reddish-purple hue appearing only briefly indicates maximum nutrient concentration. These traditional indicators prove more accurate than laboratory tests for predicting vitamin C peaks, a fact that initially baffled nutritional researchers. The preservation methods are equally sophisticated. Instead of high-heat processing that destroys vitamin C, indigenous tribes use gradual sun-drying methods that preserve nearly 95% of nutrients. More fascinating is their sequential fermenting technique. Berries undergo a brief controlled fermentation before drying, creating enzyme changes that actually increase the bioavailability of certain compounds. Modern food preservation technology struggles to match these results even with advanced equipment. Tribal communities consume camu in ways that maximize absorption, always paired with fatty foods like fish or nuts, as the fat-soluble components require lipids for proper assimilation. This traditional knowledge aligns perfectly with modern nutritional science, showing that many antioxidants require fat for optimal absorption. Wisdom developed through generations of observation rather than laboratory testing. These vitamin C powerhouses might seem impressive, but African tribes have been cultivating an ancient fruit that contains a molecule so powerful it makes sugar taste 3,000 times sweeter than it actually is. Along the tropical rainforests of West Africa grows a remarkable berry containing a protein so powerful it can transform your perception of taste for hours. This miracle fruit, carefully cultivated by indigenous tribes for generations, contains miraculon, a molecule that binds to taste receptors and makes sour foods taste intensely sweet without adding any actual sugar. A single berry can transform lemons into what tastes like sweet lemonade and make vinegar seem like syrup, an effect lasting up to 2 hours after consumption. How did tribal communities discover and develop this extraordinary fruit? During seasonal food shortages, West African tribes found that consuming these berries before eating otherwise unpalatable sour fruits and berries made them not just edible, but delicious. This discovery transformed survival food into satisfying meals during difficult periods, a critical adaptation in regions with pronounced dry seasons. The cultivation methods developed by tribal growers demonstrate sophisticated botanical knowledge. Unlike commercial growers who isolate plants for easier maintenance, indigenous cultivation pairs miracle fruit with specific companion plants, particularly certain legumes and herbs that enhance soil microbiology. Have you ever wondered why commercial miracle fruit often lacks potency? These companion planting techniques increase miraculin concentration by up to 40% compared to isolated plants, creating berries with significantly stronger taste-modifying properties. Tribal medicine developed specialized applications beyond mere flavor enhancement. Traditional healers prescribed miracle fruit for diabetic tribal members, centuries before modern medicine recognized the connection between sugar and diabetes. The precise timing of consumption matters tremendously. Tribal knowledge specifies that berries must be harvested within a 3-day window and consumed within hours for maximum medicinal effect, particularly for blood sugar management. Perhaps most fascinating are the harvest ceremonies that correspond with specific health applications. Berries harvested during the waning moon are traditionally reserved for digestive disorders, while those gathered during early morning hours under the waxing moon are designated for pregnant women suffering from food aversions, a distinction modern science is only beginning to investigate. Traditional preparation includes rolling the berries between specific leaves that preserve the miraculin, while removing compounds that can cause mild stomach discomfort, a technique that commercial processors haven't successfully replicated. This explains why tribal varieties produce longer-lasting effects than commercially grown berries, sometimes extending the sweetening effect for over 3 hours versus the typical 1-hour duration. While miracle fruit can transform your taste buds temporarily, indigenous tribes in Central America cultivate a fruit that might permanently transform your understanding of what chocolate could be. Hidden within the ancient forests of Central America grows chocolate's forgotten cousin, a fruit the descendants of Maya and Aztec civilizations call Pataxte. While modern chocolate lovers worldwide consume cacao, few have experienced this sister species that indigenous tribes refer to as white chocolate fruit. This remarkable fruit contains seeds that, when properly processed, develop complex flavor notes impossible to find in commercial chocolate. Subtle hints of jasmine, cinnamon, and tropical fruit naturally present without any additives. What makes Pataxte truly extraordinary is its unique alkaloid profile. Unlike cacao's focus on theobromine, Pataxte contains higher levels of epicatechins and procyanidins. Compounds research shows support heart health through improved blood vessel elasticity. These differences explain why traditional Mayan medicine prescribes specific Pataxte preparations for elders with heart conditions, centuries before modern science understood cardiovascular disease. The traditional cultivation methods reveal sophisticated ecological knowledge. Pataxte thrives in the dappled light beneath taller rainforest trees, growing alongside specific companion plants that create the perfect microclimate. Have you ever wondered why efforts to commercialize this fruit repeatedly fail? These complex growing requirements can't be replicated in monocrop plantations, leaving tribal varieties with flavor complexity that commercial agriculture cannot match. Perhaps most fascinating are the ancient fermentation techniques. Seeds undergo a precise 7-day fermentation in carved wooden containers, covered with specific banana leaves that introduce beneficial microorganisms. This process transforms the raw bitter seeds into complex flavor precursors, while maximizing the bioavailability of heart-healthy compounds. Modern attempts to shortcut this process inevitably produce inferior results. Sacred in traditional Mayan medicine, Pataxte features prominently in longevity ceremonies where elders consume a special preparation on significant birthdays. The indigenous processing methods involve specific clay vessels whose mineral content actually transfers into the finished product during fermentation, creating a naturally mineral-rich food. Selective breeding by indigenous communities has created special varieties with seeds containing up to 15% higher fat content than commercial cacao. This higher fat percentage creates an exceptionally smooth, rich texture when processed traditionally. The resulting white chocolate develops naturally creamy notes without requiring the added milk solids found in commercial white chocolate, a pure plant-based indulgence with cardioprotective benefits. This ancient chocolate alternative might be Central America's best-kept secret, but across the ocean, Aboriginal tribes cultivate tiny fruits with the highest known antioxidant content on Earth. The sun-scorched Australian outback might seem an unlikely place for nutritional treasures, yet Aboriginal tribes have long harvested tiny fruits that contain the highest recorded vitamin C content of any food on Earth. These Kakadu plums pack an astounding 100 times more vitamin C than oranges. A single plum provides the equivalent vitamin C of 50 oranges. This extreme nutrient density developed as an evolutionary response to harsh conditions, creating a survival mechanism that Aboriginal communities recognised and enhanced over thousands of years. What makes Aboriginal cultivation of Kakadu plums so remarkable? Unlike modern agriculture that fights against natural cycles, Indigenous tribes use controlled burning techniques that actually stimulate plum production. These carefully timed cool burns clear understory growth without damaging mature trees, triggering a stress response that dramatically increases fruit yield and nutrient concentration. Have you ever wondered why fruits often taste better after challenging growing seasons? This principle explains why traditional Aboriginal management produces plums with significantly higher nutrient density than trees growing in protected, unburned areas. The harvesting wisdom contains equally sophisticated knowledge. Tribal elders teach young gatherers to identify perfect ripeness through insect activity patterns around trees. Specific native bees visit the fruits exactly 2 days before optimal harvest time. This precise timing maximizes both vitamin C content and stable compounds called ellagic acids that give these fruits their extraordinary shelf stability. Perhaps most surprising is how Aboriginal communities preserve these nutritional powerhouses without refrigeration. Traditional processing involves specific smoke drying techniques using particular eucalyptus woods that create antimicrobial environments while preventing vitamin degradation. These methods preserve plums for 1 to 2 years without refrigeration, maintaining up to 70% of their original vitamin content, a preservation rate that modern food technology struggles to match. Specific tribal varieties have developed extraordinary adaptations to Australia's extreme conditions. While commercial cultivation often fails during droughts, Aboriginal managed trees produce fruits with modified internal structures that retain adequate moisture, even when trees receive no rainfall for months. This drought resistance comes with another benefit: concentrated bioactive compounds that act as natural preservatives. Traditional preparation includes specific techniques that neutralize astringent tannins while enhancing bioavailability of nutrients. Tribal knowledge specifies which fruits should be consumed fresh versus which benefit from controlled fermentation that creates probiotic properties. Distinctions only recently validated by nutritional science. Australia's harsh outback produced this vitamin powerhouse, but in the misty mountains of China, minority tribes cultivate a fruit that's rewriting our understanding of longevity. In the misty mountains of Tibet and the Himalayas, local tribes cultivate Goji berries with properties that put commercial varieties to shame. While most consumers know Goji as a modern superfood, these indigenous communities have been perfecting their cultivation for over 2,000 years. Laboratory analysis reveals that traditional tribal varieties contain up to 50% higher levels of zeaxanthin, the rare carotenoid essential for eye health and vision protection, than the commercially grown berries flooding global markets. What makes these indigenous Goji varieties so superior? The cultivation secret lies in strategic water restriction during specific growth phases. Unlike commercial operations that prioritize maximum yield through consistent irrigation, tribal growers deliberately induce mild drought stress at precise moments in the growing cycle. This controlled stress triggers the plant's survival mechanisms, dramatically increasing production of protective compounds within the berries. Have you ever noticed how wild berries often taste more intense than cultivated ones? This principle explains why traditionally grown goji berries develop significantly higher medicinal compound concentrations. Perhaps most surprising is how tribal communities maintain fresh berry production nearly year-round in such harsh mountain environments. They've developed special varieties that produce in alternating cycles rather than in a single season. A genetic achievement commercial agriculture hasn't replicated. Through careful selection over generations, these berries have adapted to thrive at specific elevations, with different varieties cultivated at 200-metre intervals up mountainsides, each with unique nutritional profiles. Traditional harvesting follows lunar cycles with remarkable precision. Berries intended for vision support are harvested exclusively during the waxing moon, when analysis shows zeaxanthin concentrations peak. Those for immune support are gathered during the full moon, when polysaccharide levels reach their maximum. This moon-based timing, once dismissed as superstition, has recently been validated by chronobiology research showing plant secondary metabolites indeed fluctuate with lunar phases. The drying process preserves compounds routinely destroyed in commercial processing. Rather than high-temperature dehydration, berries undergo gradual shade drying in high-altitude locations, where natural air movement and lower oxygen levels preserve heat-sensitive compounds. This method maintains nearly 95% of the berry's medicinal properties, compared to just 60 to 70% retention in commercial processing. Tribal cultivation always includes companion planting with specific herbs like astragalus and schizandra that create symbiotic relationships, enhancing the berry's medicinal properties. These carefully tended polyculture gardens produce berries with measurably higher antioxidant profiles than monoculture plantings, a finding that modern agricultural science is only beginning to understand. These mountain berries have earned their superfood status, but tribal communities in the Caribbean have been cultivating a fruit that makes nutritionists question everything they thought they knew about vitamin content. Caribbean and Pacific Island tribal communities have been harvesting an unusual fruit that makes nutritionists reconsider everything they thought they knew about vitamin activation. The Noni fruit contains something extraordinary, zeronine, a compound so rare in nature that scientists didn't identify it until the 1980s. Yet indigenous healers had been utilizing its properties for centuries. This remarkable alkaloid works as a master key, activating enzymes throughout the body and enabling proteins to function optimally at the cellular level. What makes traditional Noni cultivation so different from commercial production? Indigenous growers amend soil with pulverized coral sand, creating a mineral-rich growing environment with perfect alkalinity. This specialized soil composition triggers the plant to produce significantly higher 0,9 precursors than Noni grown in standard agricultural conditions. Have you ever wondered why commercial Noni products often fail to deliver the benefits tribal communities consistently report? This soil difference explains why traditionally grown fruit contains up to 3 times more bioactive compounds than commercially produced varieties. Perhaps most impressive is how traditional preparation neutralizes Noni's notoriously pungent smell, often compared to strong cheese, while preserving its beneficial properties. Indigenous fermentation techniques involve specific leaf wrappings that introduce beneficial microorganisms, transforming the fruit's chemical structure while maintaining its potency. This contrasts sharply with commercial deodorizing processes that strip away many beneficial compounds along with the smell. Tribal knowledge specifies precise harvest timing based on subtle translucency changes, rather than the firmness indicators used in commercial harvesting. This visual cue, visible only within a 48-hour window, coincides exactly with peak zeronine precursor development. Fruits harvested during this brief period demonstrate significantly higher enzymatic activity than those picked earlier or later. Traditional processing always involves specific clay vessels whose mineral content actually transfers into the fruit during fermentation. Laboratory analysis shows these clay-fermented preparations contain elevated levels of trace minerals like selenium and zinc that aren't present in the raw fruit or in plastic fermented versions, creating a naturally mineral-enriched medicine. The indigenous relationship with Noni extends beyond internal consumption. Tribal healers create specialized external applications for skin conditions, using different preparation methods for different concerns. One fascinating application involves fruit harvested exclusively from trees growing near ocean spray zones. These fruits develop unique properties ideal for treating fungal skin conditions, a distinction lost in commercial production that sources fruits from various growing locations. While Noni might challenge your nose with its pungent aroma, indigenous communities in South America cultivate a palm fruit that's transforming our understanding of sustainable nutrition. Deep in the Amazon wetlands, indigenous Brazilian tribes harvest an extraordinary palm fruit that's revolutionizing how we understand sustainable nutrition. The bright orange buriti fruit contains the highest natural concentration of beta-carotene found in nature, 3 times more than carrots and 10 times more than sweet potatoes. This exceptional nutrient density explains why tribal communities consider these fruits sacred and why traditional knowledge specifies precise harvesting seasons for maximum nutritional benefit. The traditional harvesting methods reveal generations of specialized knowledge. Unlike commercial operations that often cut entire trees for easier access, indigenous climbers use specialized techniques to scale the 100-foot palms without damaging them. Have you ever wondered how communities harvest from the same trees for generations? These climbing methods, requiring years to master, allow the same palm to be harvested sustainably for up to 80 years, creating a multi-generational food source that commercial agriculture rarely achieves. What makes buriti truly exceptional is its rare fatty acid profile, containing compounds rarely found together in a single food source. The fruit contains both omega-3 and omega-9 fatty acids, alongside specialized medium-chain triglycerides that support skin elasticity and immune function. These compounds explain why tribal elders consuming buriti regularly maintain remarkable skin health despite constant sun exposure, a benefit scientific research is only beginning to understand. Indigenous preservation techniques transform these delicate fruits into stable food sources without refrigeration. Traditional processing involves specific clay smoking methods that preserve the oils without oxidation, maintaining nutritional content for 6 to 8 months in tropical conditions. Laboratory analysis confirms these preserved fruits retain up to 80% of their carotenoid content, a preservation rate modern food technology struggles to match. Perhaps most impressive is how tribal communities extract 7 distinct food products from a single fruit. The pulp becomes nutrient-dense paste. The seed oil serves as cooking oil and skin protection. The fronds become fibre for weaving, and even the pollen is collected for medicinal use. This complete utilisation creates a zero-waste food system while delivering diverse nutritional profiles from the same source. Traditional buriti cultivation involves sophisticated wetland management that actually enhances ecosystem health. Rather than draining swamps for agriculture, indigenous communities create carefully managed wetland zones that increase palm productivity while supporting wildlife diversity, a regenerative approach that commercial agriculture rarely achieves. Special preparation methods involving selective fermentation unlock nutrients otherwise bound to fibre, creating higher bioavailability than raw consumption. These palm fruits might be nutritional powerhouses, but North American indigenous tribes have been quietly cultivating berries that outperform modern pharmaceuticals for certain health conditions. Across the plains and forests of North America, indigenous tribes have been cultivating small, dark berries that outperform many modern pharmaceuticals for specific health conditions. Aronia berries, sometimes called chokeberries for their astringent taste, contain the highest measured levels of anthocyanins and proanthocyanidins of any fruit on the planet. These powerful compounds explain why tribal medicine has long used these berries for conditions ranging from cardiovascular support to immune regulation. Applications modern research is only beginning to validate. What makes tribal Aronia berries so superior to commercial varieties? Traditional Native American varieties contain up to 3 times the antioxidant content of commercially grown berries. This extraordinary difference stems from specialized cultivation methods involving companion planting with specific herbs like echinacea and elderberry that create symbiotic relationships, enhancing the berry's medicinal properties. Have you ever noticed how plants growing together in nature often support each other? This ecological wisdom, embedded in indigenous agriculture, creates berries with compound profiles impossible to replicate in monoculture plantings. Perhaps most fascinating is the harvesting wisdom passed through generations. Traditional gathering follows specific bird behavior patterns rather than calendar dates. When certain migratory birds begin feeding on the outer edges of Aronia patches, but not yet the center berries, tribal gatherers know the fruits have reached peak medicinal value. This precise timing, occurring within a narrow 3-4 day window, coincides exactly with maximum anthocyanin development. Indigenous processing techniques solve a problem that limits commercial popularity: the berry's extreme astringency. Traditional methods involve a controlled freeze-thaw cycle that breaks down the astringent tannins while preserving the beneficial compounds. This approach transforms what many find unpalatable into a versatile food medicine without requiring added sweeteners. A distinction commercial processing hasn't successfully replicated. Tribal knowledge extends to different preparation methods for different health applications. Berries harvested at dawn, when still covered with dew, are traditionally reserved for respiratory conditions, while those gathered in late afternoon are designated for circulatory support. Modern testing has validated these distinctions, showing that berries' compound profiles actually shift throughout the day, with early morning harvests showing higher volatile compound concentrations. Traditional drying methods create entirely different nutritional profiles than fresh consumption. Unlike simple dehydration, the indigenous approach involves alternate warming and cooling that triggers enzymatic changes, creating compounds not present in the fresh fruit. These transformed berries become concentrated medicine, with just a tablespoon of dried berries providing therapeutic levels of specific antioxidant compounds. These powerful North American berries might seem impressive, but indigenous communities in the Andean highlands cultivate an ancient berry that's redefining what we know about adaptogens and stress response. The rugged highlands of Patagonia hide a remarkable fruit that's revolutionizing our understanding of plant adaptogens and stress response. Maqui berries, cultivated by the indigenous Mapuche people for millennia, contain the highest known levels of anthocyanins and polyphenols measured in any fruit on Earth. Laboratory analysis reveals these small purple berries contain 3 times more anthocyanins than even Aronia berries and 10 times more than blueberries, explaining why the Mapuche warriors historically consumed them before battles for enhanced stamina and recovery. What makes these berries such extraordinary adaptogens? The secret lies in their rare delphinidine content, a specific type of anthocyanin that directly influences cellular stress response pathways. Traditional Mapuche cultivation maximizes this compound through specialized pruning techniques that create precise light exposure patterns. Unlike commercial operations that maximize yield, indigenous growers strategically remove branches to create dappled light conditions that stress the plants just enough to dramatically increase protective compound production. Have you ever wondered why certain wild berries have more intense flavour and colour than cultivated varieties? This principle explains why traditionally grown Maqui berries develop significantly higher medicinal compound concentrations. Mapuche harvesters identified the perfect harvest moment based on a specific shade of deep purple-black that indicates peak delphinidine development, not by size or firmness. This precise colour appears for just 2 to 3 days, representing a narrow window of optimal medicinal potency. Perhaps most fascinating is the indigenous fermentation technique. Unlike simple juicing, Mapuche preparation involves a brief controlled fermentation using specific wooden vessels inoculated with beneficial microorganisms. This process transforms the raw berry's compound profile, creating unique metabolites not present in the fresh fruit. Modern testing confirms these fermented berries have 30 to 40% higher bioavailability of key compounds than fresh or commercially processed berries. The Mapuche educational system ensures this specialized knowledge continues. Children begin learning berry identification at age 5, progressively mastering harvesting and processing techniques through carefully structured teachings. By adolescence, they can identify subtle variations in berry properties that indicate specific medicinal applications. Distinctions so precise that botanical researchers are only beginning to document them using advanced testing methods. Traditional preparation involves specific morning harvest timing when dew still covers the berries, creating a natural extraction medium that preserves volatile compounds often lost in later harvesting. This morning dew collection, previously dismissed as superstition, has been validated by chronobiology research showing plant secondary metabolites peak during early morning hours. While these Patagonian superberries have extraordinary antioxidant content, perhaps the most surprising tribal fruit cultivation happens right under our noses, with varieties of common fruits you'd never find in stores. The most remarkable indigenous fruit cultivation might be happening in your own backyard. While supermarkets typically offer just 11 apple varieties selected for shelf appeal and shipping durability, Native American and traditional communities across North America preserve over 3,000 distinct heirloom varieties. These aren't just different flavours, they're fundamentally different fruits, with some traditional varieties containing up to 5 times the phytonutrient content of their commercial cousins. The difference is so dramatic that nutritional researchers now question whether we're even eating the same fruit as our ancestors. What makes these indigenous apple varieties so extraordinary? Unlike commercial breeding focused primarily on appearance and sweetness, traditional cultivation prioritizes complex medicinal properties. Specific tribal varieties were bred specifically for immune support, digestive health, or blood sugar regulation. Have you ever wondered why older generations talk about an apple a day, keeping the doctor away? Yet modern nutritional analyses of commercial apples don't support such significant health claims. The missing link lies in these traditional varieties with dramatically different phytochemical profiles. Perhaps most impressive is how ancient cultivation methods enhance disease resistance without chemicals. Traditional growers use companion planting techniques, often establishing specific flowering herbs beneath apple trees that attract beneficial insects while creating soil microbiology that strengthens the tree's natural immune systems. These techniques produce fruits with natural antifungal and antibacterial properties that allow them to remain viable for months without refrigeration or preservatives. Some tribal varieties exhibit preservation capabilities that defy modern understanding. The winter keeper varieties maintained by indigenous seed savers remain crisp and flavorful for 7 to 8 months in simple root cellars. No refrigeration required. The secret lies in their unique skin composition, containing natural antimicrobial compounds and specialized cellular structures that resist oxidation. Characteristics bred out of commercial apples in favor of thinner, more appealing skins. Traditional storage methods enhance these preservation properties further. Specific clay vessels, often lined with particular leaves, create microenvironments that maintain optimal humidity, while adding trace minerals that strengthen the fruit's natural preservative compounds. This approach transforms apples from seasonal treats into year-round nutritional staples. Perhaps most valuable is how Indigenous communities maintain living seed libraries, preserving varieties once thought extinct. When agricultural researchers recently sought apple varieties with genetic resistance to fire blight, a devastating bacterial disease, they discovered several Indigenous communities still cultivating ancient varieties with complete immunity to the pathogen. These living seed banks preserve genetic diversity that modern agriculture has largely abandoned, yet may prove crucial for adapting to changing climate conditions and emerging plant diseases. Traditional knowledge reminds us that our ancestors weren't just growing food, they were cultivating medicine, developing complete nutritional systems perfectly adapted to their environments through generations of careful observation and selection.